Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. ArchiCAD is the official BIM software of the EntreArchitect community. ArchiCAD BIM software enables design, collaboration, visualization, and project delivery no matter the project size or complexity. With flexible licensing options and a dedicated support team to guide us along the way, ArchiCAD is an ideal choice for firms and projects of any size. I encourage you to reach out and talk to the folks at Graphisoft by visiting our own dedicated webpage at graphisoft.com/us/EntreArchitect. There's even an exclusive special offer waiting for our EntreArchitect community. Go now to graphisoft.com/us/EntreArchitect and see how Graphisoft is positioned to help make your architecture firm a success. That's graphisoft.com/us/EntreArchitect. LePage.com/EntreArchitect. My name is Mark R. LePage, and you are listening to EntreArchitect Podcast, where each week I speak with inspiring, passionate people who share their knowledge and expertise, all to help you build a better business as a small firm entrepreneur architect. All right, so today we're doing something completely different. This is sort of strange to me because I'm usually sitting in a different seat. Today I'm sitting in the interviewee seat. I have an guest interviewer. My friend Mark Zweig is with me today, and we're going to turn the tables, and Mark's going to interview me. And Mark's been on the show several times, and the last time we were on, Mark said, "Hey, well, why don't I come on the show and interview you and get a little bit of your background?" And so I thought that'd be great. Not only do I don't often get a chance to talk about me, but to have Mark Zweig interview me, that'd be even greater. So, Mark, thanks for coming by the show here and flipping things on me.
Hey, it's really fun. It's always great talking with you. We never seem to run out of material.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think that'll be the case today. I was just thinking to myself, I mean, you have everybody on your show, but we don't know enough about you. So yeah. I thought this would be fun.
I love to share. So we can go anywhere you want to go.
Well, there's that country song, "Let's Talk About Me." Have you ever heard that one?
Yes, I have. I have.
I love that. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Mark. Now, where did you grow up and what was your childhood like?
Yeah, let's go way back. I grew up in New Jersey, in Paramus, New Jersey, Bergen County, northern New Jersey, about half hour outside of New York City. So the New York metropolitan area.
Mm-hmm.
Paramus is known for their shopping malls. And so it is where the intersection of Route 17, Route 4, and the Garden State Parkway cross. They all come together in that same location. And so it has been a shopping mecca for the northeastern United States. And that's where I grew up. And it was a great childhood. I still love Paramus. My mom and dad still have a house there, although they don't live there very much. They're nomads. They go chase the warmth, and so they're in Florida in the winter and way upstate New York at Alexandria Bay in the summertime. But growing up at Paramus is a typical suburban environment, and as a teenager, used to hang out at the malls and do the things that teenagers do in suburban growing up. And it was great. It was a great childhood.
Did you go into the city much when you were a kid? I guess you could take a train, couldn't you? Pretty easily.
We could. That's funny because often people hear that I was a half hour outside of New York City and would expect that I would spend a lot of time at the city. But no, we used to go in a couple times a year. We would go to the Thanksgiving Day parade every year.
Sure, that's big.
And so we would do that. And my dad is today is a retired auto mechanic, but at the time he was an auto mechanic, had his own business, which is where I get my entrepreneurial roots.
Uh-huh.
And we used to go to the car show and to the boat show at the Coliseum before they moved it to Jacob Javits.
Uh-huh.
And in Columbus Circle, which now I think the Coliseum is where the Time Warner building is. I'm not sure the Coliseum is there anymore.
That's interesting. I knew your dad was into cars. I didn't realize he had his own shop. Was it just an independent shop or what was it?
Yeah, just an independent shop in Emerson, New Jersey, Kinderkmack Road. And he had his own shop for 50 years and gas pumps out front and a couple of repair bays and specialized. He was a Corvette collector. He loved Corvettes.
I knew that. Yeah.
And he had a collection of them and he would repair them as well and restore them. And so sort of as a side business, he had this, Corvette restoration business and repair business, but I did general repairs for the neighborhood. And I spent a lot of time there and learned a lot about cars and a lot about business, a lot about people. It's a good business to learn how people think and how they act, because there's lots of one-on-one interaction with people getting gas or coming by for repairs. It was fun.
I find a lot of architects like cars. That's been my experience. There's a lot of crossover there because you appreciate design,
Yeah.
And quality craftsmanship. So your dad, I know he's still alive. Where are his cars now?
Most of them have been sold. He has 3 Corvettes still.
Mm-hmm.
He has 255s, 1955s. He has a white 55 that he's had my whole life.
First year for a V8, it would be a 265 in those.
Exactly. Yep. He also has a red 55, which was my grandfather's car when I don't know what the occasion was, but somewhere along the line, my dad gifted my grandfather a 55 Corvette, which sounds amazing. But it was a basket case. It was a chassis and a raw body and no interior, no engine, nothing. And the deal was that Pop-Up, my grandfather, would pay for the restoration, but my father and my uncle, who is also an auto mechanic, would restore the car. And they restored it to top quality. And when they were finished, they took it on tour for all the car shows, the NCRS car shows.
People need to, what is it, the National Corvette Restoration Society or something Society. Like that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And so we, that summer, the whole family loaded up the Corvette on the trailer and toured all the shows and won all the top prizes. Was first place everywhere it went. Got Briner Blue Award, which is like the top top flight award for restoration. And it became the car that everybody referenced to see how they should restore their cars.
Wow.
So he still has that car. It's it's not the car it was back then. Obviously over time it hasn't been restored again, but it's there and in great shape. And then the third Corvette that he has still is a 1967 427 big block convertible with side pipes, and it is my favorite car that he's ever had. And it's still sitting in the garage up on a lift on top of one of the other cars.
Wow. Does that have knockoffs on it?
It does.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Knockoff wheels. Yeah.
So when you were 16, I think that was the driving age in New Jersey, wasn't it?
It was you could, if you took driver's education, you could start at 16 and a half, which I didn't do. And so I didn't start driving until I was 17. But I bought my first car when I was 13.
What was that?
It was a 1972 Camaro.
Oh man, and was it the RS with the split bumper? Or
this one was not. This one was in great shape. But it was a standard. I think it had a 350 in it, and it was it was a flip, is what it was. My dad used to do that with Corvettes. He would buy them, restore them, or fix them up and sell them. And so he taught me how to do that. And so that was another, sort of boost to the entrepreneurial spirit.
Sure.
Showed me how to do that. And so when I was 13, we went to Carlisle in Pennsylvania, which is a huge car flea market.
Sure.
And we used to go every year because that was one of the things we did as a family. He would load up the trailer full of parts, and we would get a space at the flea market, and we would spend the week at Carlisle and sell parts. And so every year we would go. And so, as kids, we'd run off and go do our thing. But when I was 13, I asked him if he would help me, pick out a car. And I had been saving, my money working for him.
Yep.
And I saved up $1,200, and I bought a 1972 Camaro, dark blue, and he drove it home, and I went home and cleaned it up and fixed whatever needed to be fixed on it, and put it out in front of his shop and sold it for $2,400. Doubled my money.
Wow. So you made a profit on the first one right out of the gate.
I did. Yeah.
Then what'd you do with the 2,400?
I rolled it into another car.
Okay.
I had a 72. Then I had I think the second car was a 69 Camaro convertible that I did the same thing with and doubled my money again. And then I think the next one was a 1970 Chevelle big block.
It would have been a 454.
It was a 454. Yeah. That one had some rust issues that I wasn't aware of. So we still sold it for a profit, but didn't make as much as I had in the past. And then I had a 72 Camaro, green one, and green at the time was not very trendy. And so that took a little while to sell, but made profit on that as well. And then I finally bought the car that I still have today. When I was 16, I bought a 1969 Camaro Rally Sport with a 350 Chevy engine in it, and still have that car today.
That's the hidden headlights model, isn't it?
Yes. Yep. It has hideaway headlights.
Yeah. What year is that? I mean, what color is that?
It's black with a white hockey stripe on the side of it.
Oh man, good color combo too.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And my dad, when I bought it, and that was the car it was going to be my car, right? This car wasn't the flip car.
Right.
And so when I bought it, Dad said, don't ever sell it. He said, just keep it. He said, if you're ever tempted to sell it, just put it away and you pretend you don't have it. And that's through, I don't know, 40 years now.
He was right, wasn't he?
Yeah. 30 years, I guess. Yeah.
Man, I wish I'd been smart enough to do that with some of the cars I had, but my dad gave me horrible advice. So
what's really great about it today, and not what I ever expected, and maybe he knew this, is now my sons are of age to drive and to tinker with them. My oldest isn't really interested. He likes looking at it and playing with it. But my middle one is a maker. My middle one, Henry, dives right in there and tears it apart and fixes it and updates it, and so he's taken ownership of it essentially, and has fixed some oil leaks the other day, and he's all in on it. And so it's really great to be able to share it with him.
You're lucky that he's into that. So tell me a little bit about your family.
Well, my dad, like I had mentioned, my dad was an auto mechanic. My mom was a library clerk for the local elementary school. And so she basically was a stay-at-home mom until we were about, 13 or so, whenever we could come home without her being there. And she worked full-time as a library clerk for 25 years, Paramus school system, and helped Dad run the business. And and so that's what Mom did. And then I have two brothers. I have a younger brother, Craig, who today is near me here in Lake Norman, North Carolina, who runs a really big real estate brokerage company now. And my older brother, Scott, has a great story. He left New Jersey in pursuit of working in NASCAR. And so he was the first one to come down here in Charlotte.
That's the North Carolina connection.
That's how it all started for us. Yeah, we actually, both of my brothers are here. My older brother was the first one to come down, and he ended up working in NASCAR, worked for several teams, ended up becoming a crew chief for one of the teams, and then left and pursued some other things. And now he's a motorsports photographer and an architectural photographer.
Wow.
And so that's what he does today. His name is Scott LePage, if you want to check him out. He's got his great portfolio. And so like 25, 30 years ago, they moved down to North Carolina. Anne Marie, my wife, and I were still in New York because we had moved over to Chappaqua, New York, in Westchester County.
Right.
About the same time my brothers moved, my wife's brothers moved. They moved to the same place. They moved to Charlotte as well. So my brothers are north of the city, and my wife's brothers are south of the city. And so everybody coincidentally ended up in the same place.
That is so cool, except for the folks. They're everywhere but North Carolina.
Exactly. Right. So Mom and Dad still have the house that we grew up in, which now is essentially, it takes care of all the things that they've collected over the years. And my in-laws were in New York as well, near us, and we expected them to stay there forever. And so we were staying there forever as well. We never imagined we would move from New York. And one day they went to visit their sons down in North Carolina and came back and said, we bought a house.
Oh my gosh.
And we're going to sell the house in New York, and we're moving to North Carolina. And in less than 9 months, packed up the house that they had lived in for 50 years, sold it, and moved to North Carolina. When they made that announcement, we said, "Oh, I guess we're going too," because that was the reason we were there. So we closed the architecture business and moved to North Carolina.
Now, your kids, how many you have? I know you've got one son. You mentioned.
I have 3 kids. I have a 21-year-old James, who now lives in New York City. He's a founder of a tech startup called Share Club.
Cool.
And loving New York City. He's living his dream. He went to Syracuse University and graduated a couple of years ago, or a year ago or so. My middle one, Henry, is now working for Hendrick Auto Group here in Charlotte as a technician. So he's following the automotive world.
Uh-huh.
And my daughter is a sophomore in high school who is a competitive swimmer.
Wow. They all sound accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very proud of them. Yeah.
I'm sure you're proud of them.
Yeah.
Now, your wife, where did you meet her?
My wife, Anne-Marie McCarthy, I met her at my first architecture job. It was her second architecture job. It was my first one out of school. She was in, I think she was in Long Island City before she took this job in Ridgewood, New Jersey for Barry Postganzer is the name of the firm. And Barry takes full credit for my entire life because when I was working there, and when Barry hired Anne-Marie, he looked into the back of the studio, pointed at me, and said, "He's a lonely guy back there."
That's funny. And stuck her back there with you?
Yeah, and hired her. And the first day we met, we became friends, and very soon after that became a couple. Never told anybody at the firm. We kept it secret for the entire time we were working there. Anne-Marie had left and got another job in Westchester, which is what took us to Westchester County. She moved to another firm there in Katona, New York. And I stayed there for another few months before I left. And when I left, I said, "Hey, Barry, do you remember Anne-Marie?" I said,
Guess what?
Anne-Marie and I were dating. And in fact, not only were we dating, we're engaged to be married. And he had no idea. He had no idea at all.
That's hysterical.
So today he claims that, that he has, full credit for my entire family because he introduced Anne-Marie and me. And so my kids, my life, everything, it's all due to Barry.
Well, thank you, Barry.
Yes. Thank you, Barry.
You went to school in Rhode Island. How did you end up there?
I did. I went to school at Roger Williams University in Bristol.
Mm-hmm.
I looked around for architecture schools when I was in high school. I wanted to be an architect since I was 10. And so I always knew I wanted to be an architect. And so I never really looked at anything else.
I was the same way, but then I got seduced away by the world of business.
You took the smart route.
I don't know about that, but I just got, when I was a kid, I worked and made so much money. I thought, oh, this is really fun. But yeah, I always had an interest in architecture too. So did you make stuff out of Legos or did you draw on graph paper?
We did. I did all of that. I did all of that. I love to draw. And so when I used to pencil sketch everything. So I'm a dreamer. I have a huge imagination and I love to live in the future. And I just dream about what could be. And so even today, the whole EntreArchitect thing is really because of all of that, just pursuing my dreams. And back then I would draw my dreams. So I would just take a sketchbook, and anytime I sort of wanted a new car or a house, I would draw it. And that was fun. And so I imagined that I would become an artist. And my mom opened my eyes because back in the 80s, artists didn't make any money. Today with the internet, artists can make lots of money. And even then, I guess there were artists that made some money, but it wasn't really a job that you would pursue.
Sure. Yeah.
So mom introduced me to architecture and said, "Hey, architects do drawing and you would probably be great at that." And so at 10 years old, I'm like, "Yep, I'm going to be an architect." And I never looked back.
Stuck with it.
And then in high school, when it was time to start looking for architecture schools, I did a tour, and Roger Williams was the first school that I toured. And they had just opened they had just been accredited. So it's brand new architecture school. And the building was brand new. The building had just opened the year before I visited it. And so it was brand new, shiny new building. I met some of the professors and really liked the professors. And so I judged everything against that school, visited lots of other architecture schools, and just decided, it was the right place for me. It was a small school. It's right on the Narragansett Bay. And so and I love the water. And I love Rhode Island. And so
I do too.
I went. Yeah.
I always loved Newport. I like Providence. When I lived in Boston, we used to go to Providence on Friday night sometimes.
Yeah.
And over there by Brown and RISD. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a cool town. Buddy Cianci, was he mayor when you were
he was.
in school?
Buddy Cianci was the mayor at the time. Yeah.
A criminal.
What a character that guy is, for sure. There's a great podcast. I forget the name of the podcast, but it's all about the Providence crime scene or not crime scene, but the whole, organized crime and Buddy Cianci's involvement in all of that. And fantastic podcast. I forget the name of it, but I'll put it in the show notes if I can remember.
Well, it is cool there in New England, but you didn't stay.
No,
after you got out of school.
I didn't stay. I went back to New Jersey and got a job in Ridgewood and met my wife.
So after the Ridgewood gig, how long were you there?
I was there for about 9 months.
Okay.
And I always knew that I wanted my own firm. And so I sort of planned everything around that idea. And so very strategically, right from the beginning, coming out of architecture school, it was 1993 I graduated. And so it was a recession. Mm-hmm. No one was hiring. And I got a job with Barry to measure 435 condominium units.
Oh, what fun.
About 200 of them were identical.
Or supposed to be identical, right?
Yeah,
but when you measure them, they're not.
Well, apparently he had designed the building, a new condominium building, and renovated a whole a complex of mill buildings into condominiums. And the owners were being sued because they were renting these spaces by the square foot. And I guess
and this measurement wasn't right.
The measurement wasn't right, and they sued the building owner. And so they hired the architect to go back to measure every single unit, so they had a square foot number. And so he hired me, and I every day would take my measuring tape and go to this building. And the entire summer I spent measuring this complex. And when I was done, he liked what I did, and because I just went all in on it and, did the best job I could. My dad, working with my dad, he taught me very, very well the importance of working hard and showing, your worth. And so I did that with Barry. And when I was done, he offered me a job and I stayed.
You took the crappiest job and did it well.
Exactly. Let's take a quick break to say thank you to our sponsors for their support of this episode. This episode of EntreArchitect Podcast is supported by Arcat.com. Can't find the product data that you're looking for? You might be using the wrong search engine. Broad searches result in consumer products, out-of-date information, and websites that hide or don't have the information that you're looking for. If you need specifications, CAD, or BIM, Arcat.com is your search engine. Find and download the up-to-date data that you need fast. Arcat.com is free and requires no registration. So try Arcat today. That's ARCAT.com. Please visit our sponsors today and thank them. Thank them for supporting you, the EntreArchitect community.
That's funny about the space. I was taught years ago, and I actually teach my undergrad new venture students this one because many times they rent space, but we were renting space in the multi-tenant mixed-use development we were in Boston. And we were going to take this 10,000 square foot space that was originally designed to be a TGI Fridays and turn it into office space. And so, again, as you said, it was price per square foot. At the time, it was like $26 a foot or something. It still wasn't cheap. It was good space. But so I take the lease over to our crusty old attorney who's from New Jersey, a guy named Ron Doxer, and worked for a bunch of big developers prior to setting up his practice. And I take this lease over to Ron. He goes, "You got a tape measure?" I said, "I can get one." He goes, "Meet me down there at the space," because his office was in our complex too. Yeah. So we go down there, we measure it out. It was 8,800 and change, not 10,000.
Yeah.
And that saved us a fortune, hundreds of thousands over the course of the lease. And so Ron taught me, always measure the space. And then the same thing happened to us here. We were renting a space after we got the company back, and we rented a space in a multi-tenant building. And then we were moving up to the next space. And it was like 3,600. And lo and behold, I had an architect working for my other business. And I said, "Throw that thing in CAD. Let's see what it really is." It was 2,700 square feet.
Yeah, I guess they assume nobody's going to measure them.
Routine problem, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
But it gave me my first job for sure. So I was pretty happy with it.
I guess it's a lot easier today with all the electronics, right? You don't have to actually measure anything. You just go in there with your phone.
I got very good at measuring. And actually that was my first business as my own business, other
doing
than
as-built.
Yeah. I had a car detailing business was really my first business, out of my father's shop as a kid. But as my first real business after I started my own firm, well, actually, let me go from Barry's and sort of give you the timeline to this business. When I left Barry Postganzer, I went to URS Consultants, which
I saw that on your resume. I thought that's not a great place for architects, URS, but
URS was an engineering firm with an architecture division. So it was an EA firm.
Well, they were buying everybody. It was UR Next.
They became Grenier, and now that today I think they're URS Group. I think they are, or whatever they're called. One of the largest engineering companies in the world now. Sure. They had an office in Paramus, and a few of my friends from high school worked there. And so when I left Barry's, which was a small firm, I thought, well, let's go to a large corporate firm to see what a large firm works. Feels like works. Sure. I just wanted that experience, knowing that I was going to start my own firm. I wanted sort of the experience everywhere, and so I worked there for several months more. And then Anne-Marie moved to Westchester County and was working there. And so when we got married in 1996, I took a job with KG&D Architects, Kyer Garman and Davidson Architects in Mount Kisco, New York.
Now, you weren't registered yet, or is that about when you were getting licensed?
After I left KG&D.
Okay.
And so that's actually how the as-builts started. Anne-Marie was still working for the firm that she had gone there for. I worked with KG&D for a couple more years, became a project manager there, and basically worked with one of the principals as sort of as his right-hand man. He would design, and then I would take care of the rest of the project for him, and learned a lot there. And I was likely on track for partner there. If I stayed there, I probably would have become partner. But again, knowing that I wanted my own firm, when I felt it was time to leave, I gave notice and I left. Not yet licensed, but Anne-Marie was licensed. She had gone through the program, and she got licensed. And so I left and I started a company called the Construction Documents Company, and did existing conditions as built for residential architects. So I would, they would get a project. I would go to the house. I would measure up the house, give them full CAD drawings.
Critical.
It was a great business. It was super profitable. It was easy. Today, I always look back at that and think, oh, that's such a business that I could have, automated and built a team around with systems, and probably could have built that into a, really profitable company.
A lot of architects would poo-poo that. They would be like, oh, that's not design. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, well, it made me a lot of money.
It's necessary. It's a necessary service. I can relate to that.
Yeah. And it was a great sort of transitional business because I didn't need to be licensed.
Yep.
And Anne-Marie was licensed. And so the idea was I would start this company and I would freelance for architects, and I would help Anne-Marie launch our firm. So we first launched it as Anne-Marie McCarthy Architect. And then when I got licensed, we relaunched it and named it 5 Cat Studio, which was the office of McCarthy LePage Architects Incorporated. It wasn't incorporated; it was a PC, professional corporation, and had that company from 1999, I think it was. We started it until we left to come here in 2019. So about 20 years we had that architecture firm.
Now, I looked at some of the stuff you did. I mean, you did do a lot of residential.
Yeah, it was a residential firm. Yep.
Seems like you had a real sort of classical bent, if nothing else. I did see a few modern projects on there, though. You're not a one-trick pony.
Yeah. Well, actually, the way the company was structured was I was the business side, and Anne-Marie was the design side. And so, and we lived in Westchester County, and Westchester County is all traditional architecture, very, very little modern architecture. And we started the firm as two 29-year-olds, very naive, not really knowing what we were doing, no clients, no money. And we wanted to do brand new, big, modern houses. And And as two 29-year-olds, we very quickly learned that
The
we were
market didn't want
competing.
it.
Yeah, the market didn't want us. We were 29 years old, and we were definitely qualified to do it, but we were competing with firms that had been around for 30 or 40 years with portfolios that, showed such. And so we weren't getting any of those projects. And
Like
so,
Bob Stern or somebody
yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Bob Stern was there, and a lot of the Connecticut firms and a bunch of
Yeah.
the, there were several in Westchester County, and those
Yep.
were all the firms that we were competing with. And so nobody was going to hire these two 29-year-olds. We started doing additions and renovations.
Yep.
And I went and took a class in a community college, Westchester Community College, called the Academy of Entrepreneurial Excellence. It was an entrepreneurial class, and it was a 15-week program, and every week was a different, element of business, right? So one week it was sales, and another week was marketing. And so we were going through the process every week. I would go to the class, and I would come home to Anne Marie and report what I learned, and I would say, "Yep, we're doing that. We're doing that great. We don't need to worry about that." And then the next week, "Yep, we're doing that right too." And probably by the fourth week, she was getting frustrated because I was taking this class to try to figure out why we were plateauing. And when I got to sales, I realized that we had no sales system.
That was it.
We had lots of marketing. We were really good at marketing. Lots of people knew who we were. We built a brand around additions and alterations, residential additions and alterations. We called them high-end small projects. And so all those big houses that we wanted to design, we ended up becoming the additions and alterations company that fixed fixed them or added to them. And we built a really great brand around those projects.
Interesting. But now, you did not do the construction. Did you have contractors that you like to work with? Because it's obviously such a critical part in that business. It's hard to find decent contractors and subcontractors that'll build what you designed, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was difficult. And we did have sort of our go-to contractors. And there was a time for several years where we actually offered construction management services. So we were advisors. And so they would hire us, and we would run the construction, and we would just hire one of those general contractors to run the general trades. And then we would bid out the electrical, plumbing, and HVAC.
It's funny you say that because, I'm not an architect, but I designed tons of stuff, and I had people in my business who could do the drawing for me. But I tried being a construction manager, and the state of Arkansas didn't like that. They told me I had to become a licensed contractor, even though no money was flowing through us. They just didn't accept it. Yeah. Is that a problem?
There was not a problem in New York. The thing that I always advise people of is you have to be careful with your insurance. Because up to a certain limit, you can do it as an architect. So you don't need a separate company.
Right.
And your insurance will still cover you. The liability insurance will still cover you and I think the limit was 10% of your overall earnings. And so we just kept it under that 10%. And those were very profitable projects because we would get paid for design, and then we would also get paid for full construction management. And we're doing, as architects running construction administration, you're halfway there.
Sure.
It's just a matter of coordinating subs at that point. And if you're working with a good team, that's a pretty easy process.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was cool. That was a nice little niche that you built up. And I'm sure you had a good clientele there because it's an affluent area.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a great business. We were very successful when we left New York, had a great portfolio and had a great brand, and learned how to put together a sales system, which is simple, just a matter of follow-ups and a process of converting the proposal into a project. And once we learned that, the rest of it was easy. I mean, the company grew and we were pretty successful.
Residential clients, though, what a pain in the ass. I mean, I'm sorry. You had husbands and wives that don't know anything, and sometimes they think they do, and then they argue with you, and then they go, I saw this in Pinterest. I want you to do that. And you're like, but that's totally incompatible with everything else you have here. Yeah. How do you deal with those things?
That's part of it, right? And so if you embrace that's part of it, and you build your systems and your brand around that,
you're just nicer than me. That's all I can say. I mean,
well, that's also why, when I talk to architects where they want to do everything, right? They want to do commercial and they want to do residential and they want to do educational.
Doesn't work.
And if you try to do all of that, right, they're very different markets. Like you just said, with residential is a very specific market, right? If you can build your company around taking care of those people, then you can thrive as a residential architect because you build it around the systems, right? You build it around the experience that those people are going to have, that it's more than just a set of drawings or it's even more than just the building that they're building. It's about the experience that they're going through.
Yeah, it's marital counseling in many
cases. And you have to acknowledge that and build systems around that.
Well, that I commend you, and I can see that you could do that because you have the personality and demeanor that lends itself to working well with other people. I mean, it's obviously something you do really well.
It was a great firm because Anne Marie is a fantastic designer, great architect. Mm-hmm. And so she all the things that you see on the website are all her designs. I didn't do any design. I would do the construction drawings and the construction administration and all the client contact. And that's the part I loved.
So you guys weren't tripping over each other.
Yeah, no, we learned very quickly that we needed our own lanes.
Exactly.
We tried when we first started dating, we tried to design together and it did not work at all.
Oh yeah. I went through that with my wife too. So I get it.
Yeah. So we just learned that, my passion is the business side and her passion is the architecture side. And so it works well.
Well, I used to do everything. I mean, I had houses where I even did the art on the walls and picked the dishes out and designed the furniture and everything. And once she and I started working together and I figured out she actually is better than I am at all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now I'm just hands off. Whatever you want to do is great.
That's exactly how I do it too.
It works great.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, you hate to stereotype, but I think I probably more easily got into a rut with certain things. I get overly thematic. And my wife is like, she's not afraid to do something different every time. She's just more creative in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's important, and this better than anybody as an entrepreneur, you have to find your strengths and then go all in on them, right? If your strength is not design,
it's true.
Or if your partner is better at that, then you should focus on the things that you're good at and let the person who's really good at design do the design, even if you really want to, right?
Yeah.
You're right. Design other things.
Yeah, exactly. And but that's so hard for some people. I mean, I think we're taught to work on our weaknesses. Yeah. And I've always thought, let's just accept those for what they are. Not to say you don't want to try to be better at everything, but let's focus on what we do really well. And so is that how you counsel your small firm clients that have husbands and wives working together or partners working together?
I would recommend that to any partner. Mm-hmm. And I believe you should have a partner. I think it's much easier to run a business when you have a partner, if it's the right partner.
I don't disagree. Somebody that bolsters your weaknesses is great. That's what it's all about.
And I've interviewed Gene Cohn. I've interviewed Patrick McLamy with HOK.
Sure.
All of the big successful firms started with 3 letters because there were 3 people who started those firms, right? And those three letters had 3 different strengths. Right. Gene Cohn is the marketing guy, the business development guy. Sheldon Fox is the money guy, and Bill Pedersen is the design guy, right? And then so the 3 of them, they had their strengths and they taught those strengths to other people. And the same thing with HOK. The history of HOK, it started the same way, very strategically kept, that there was a management partner, there was a design partner, and a business partner.
I grew up in St. Louis, and one of my best friends, his dad was a partner for HOK and started their London office. But and my dad used to work with Jerry Sinkoff. Jerry was the chairman for a long time. Worked with Jerry Sinkoff's uncle Abe. But I knew all those guys over there.
I don't know if I did a podcast series with Patrick McLamy called Build Smart.
I did see that. I don't really know Patrick. He all came on the scene after I was long out of their HOK, but they were a client at one point.
You would like him a lot. You're very similar people.
So tell me now, is it pronounced Gable?
It's Gable. Yeah. Gable with no E, not an acronym. It's just the brand. It's a word that I wanted to own. And so
we like Gables.
Yeah, exactly. Gable is referencing buildings and
Yeah.
covers and roofs and sort of, the protective structure. And so Gable, there's technically two Gables. There's Gable Media, which is the podcast company, and who I'm partners with Demetrius Lynch. And then actually the company that owns EntreArchitect is Gable Technologies. There's actually two separate companies. I don't promote Gable Technologies because it's confusing to Gable Media, but they're two separate companies.
Jeff Eccles, you work with him in this deal.
Yep.
How is that? What's that arrangement?
Jeff is my partner at Gable Technologies, EntreArchitect.
Okay.
He's the vice president of community development, and so his job is to grow the community.
Does a great job. The frequency that you guys do your communication and your do we call that a podcast or a program in the afternoon?
Yeah, it's a conversation. It's context and clarity has lots of pieces. So Jeff's brand is context and clarity, and that's under the cover of EntreArchitect. It started during the pandemic. It started the week that the pandemic started.
Wow, well timed.
It was a response to the pandemic. It was Jeff and I he was working for me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Since then now as a partner, he and I were talking, and we thought, well, we had this Facebook group, a really strong community at the Facebook group.
Yep.
And the pandemic happened. And if everybody remembered that week when we all realized here in the United States that this was real and that firms were shutting down and the company, the country was shutting down, and it was scary. Everybody had a lot of fear and uncertainty. And so we decided.
I was scared.
Yeah, everyone was. And so everybody didn't really know what to do. And so we decided that we were going to commit to a week of signing on to Facebook Live every day at 4:00 for a week, just to give some structure, just some continuity to your life. And so you would know that Jeff and I were going to be there for every day at 4:00 for actually, I think it started as a half hour. And then Jeff never stopped. He's still doing it. He's been doing it since then, since 2020.
Well, he's got a voice for radio. I mean, let's face it, his voice is unbelievable. And I just love how you get all these people involved. I mean, you've created a real community now.
Yeah.
And now you've got a new offering, a new program for your, I don't know if we call them clients or community members, or what do we call them?
You mean the network?
Yes.
Yes. So December 12th, 2022 was my 10-year anniversary. So I launched EntreArchitect on December 12th, 2012. And it started as a blog. And in 2012, I committed to turning it into a business that would help small firms thrive.
Yep.
And I've been doing it ever since. So 10 years now. So on December 12th, 2022, we announced that we were going to launch EntreArchitect Network, which is a business organization for architects.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different than EntreArchitect Academy, which is what the membership has been for the last 10 years.
Yes.
When we launched EntreArchitect, I launched EntreArchitect Academy, which was a membership site that provided training and business resources and mastermind groups. And
now you're doing more.
EntreArchitect Network is intended to become an organization, a global organization for architects focused on business. It still has all the resources from the Academy, and it still has mastermind groups. We now have 21 mastermind groups.
It's fantastic. And those are all over the country, right?
Yeah, they're all virtual. So that the members are from all over the country. Actually, there are international members in some of those groups. And our goal at the EntreArchitect Network is to connect and serve 100,000 architects globally. And that'll take a long time. It'll take decades, probably. The intent is to connect the world's architects with the intent of growing them as entrepreneurs, recognize that we are business owners and bring architects together as an organization. So then we can leverage that organization. We can do tremendous things once we are all connected as a network. We can help one another, right? We can work with one another. We can partner with one another. Right now, or the way it was before EntreArchitect Network, is that tens of thousands of architects, maybe even hundreds of thousands of architects know who EntreArchitect is, but we didn't really know them, right? We don't know who they are. Mm-hmm. And so EntreArchitect Network invites those architects to come join this network. So now we know who you are. We know who you are. We know where you work. We know what your expertise is. We know who you want to be connected with. And so now we can leverage that, right? We can say, okay, this architect and this architect would be even more powerful together, right? And so we can bring them together and do amazing things. We can also, with scale, can go to, insurance companies and software providers and say, hey,
Sure.
we have 10,000 architects on our network. You should provide us these services at a discount. And then if you think beyond that, imagine 10,000 architects linked up or 100,000 architects linked up, and we focus that collective knowledge through technology to solve global problems, right? Architects are problem solvers, right? And if you have a network of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of architects, and you very easily take technology to focus knowledge on a specific problem, imagine the problems we could solve as architects if we focus on those things.
Oh, I wish you guys could help with building codes, for example, and how restrictive they are, and it's a huge part of the problem. Obviously, is the zoning and the building codes as it relates to affordable housing. I mean, we can't have affordable housing with these lot coverage ratios that we have around here. We're not going to have density.
We could solve all those problems for two reasons. We can solve those problems because, one, we would have the knowledge to solve those problems, right? We can bring the knowledge of thousands of architects together and say, here's how this could be, right? But then we also have the scale to go to municipalities and say, this should change, right? We have thousands of architects who think this should be different. That has tremendous power, right? AIA has tremendous power because they have 100,000 architects linked.
That brings me to my next question. I mean, I don't want to interrupt you, and I know you and I talked about this before, but I'll just assume that not everybody heard it. What's the difference between you and AIA? How do you see yourself as an organization compared, what your role is versus theirs?
Well, I definitely think that we're different. EntreArchitect is a business organization, right? We're focused on helping small firm architects primarily, but could grow beyond that, to help them build better businesses, right?
Yep.
And so that's what we're focused on. It's also community run. And AIA is as well, but AIA right now should be more focused on political side of what we do,
right,
and impact the rules and regulations like you were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that by building a network, that network can then do what we want to do, right? We can have the freedom and the flexibility to move that organization in any direction we want it to be. And it's primarily focused on business. It's primarily focused on teaching architects to be successful entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm. Some architects probably, when they hear entrepreneurship, they're like, yuck, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. There's some negative association for them. I'm not saying all, obviously.
Yeah, I think that's changing.
Do you? Okay.
When I first started, 10 years ago, and when I started in the profession, even longer than
30
that.
plus years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. The AIA has done significant damage to the profession by the response to the antitrust lawsuits that they had.
Mm-hmm.
For generations, architects were afraid to talk about business and talk about money because of the rules of the AIA.
Sure.
And there's an entire generation of architects who were misunderstood the rules and assumed that they couldn't talk about business or money anywhere as architects.
Mm-hmm.
The rule is you can't talk about fees when you're assembled as the AIA, right?
Sure.
Because that's a rule they have. And that's not against the law. That's against AIA, their rules in order to protect the AIA. And I don't blame them for that. Sure. I blame them for not educating the architects that they should be focused on money and they should be talking about their knowledge with one another. They should be sharing business knowledge with one another. And you should be talking about money and fees. And as long as you're not colluding, there's no law being broken.
Well, and plus it's so fragmented, the industry. I mean, even if you are colluding, you're still a very small group in terms of the size of the overall industry. Not to say it's okay to collude. I'm just, it just seems like it's crazy. My experience with pro practice courses is they they really don't equip these architects to be in business for themselves.
Right.
And I saw a statistic once, it's like 1 out of 5 architects ends up an owner of the business. So obviously they need that.
Right.
And I hate to be critical, but I mean, some of the pro practice teachers I've seen out there really don't know anything about it.
And that's one of the things that we actually have a goal set to create a curriculum for architecture schools.
Interesting.
And we're actually going to announce some things later this year, which I'm not going to reveal right now, but we're working on something that will allow architects to run their businesses better. And when we launch that, it can very easily become a curriculum for architecture schools, because architecture schools don't have a proper business curriculum.
No,
professional practice classes are not teaching architects to be business owners.
they focus on contracts more than anything else.
Right. And outdated ideas and outdated books, they should be taught to be entrepreneurs. They should be,
Yes.
And because whether you or not you're going to run your own business, if you understand business, you're a better employee.
Absolutely.
Right? So the profession thrives when architects can be financially successful.
Well, I hate to use this term, but you're really trying to sort of bring up the whole profession, I think, is really what it sounds like to me.
My intent is to shift the profession, to move it in a different direction, with the idea that architects are business people, that architects are entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And being a good designer is not in conflict with being a good business person.
No, in fact, you become a better designer.
Right.
Right. Because if you have the money, then you have more time, more resources, more everything to focus on the creative side.
I agree 100%. It's a noble endeavor, my friend. And I appreciate I think you're the guy to make some serious inroads on this problem.
Well, I hope so.
Seems like you're doing it.
That's my plan. And so I just keep moving forward. I have a community who embrace me, and they've embraced me from the very beginning. They're the ones that encouraged me to launch EntreArchitect in the first place. And so I really feel that this is my purpose. I'm here for this, and that the community continues to encourage me to keep moving forward. And so I just keep moving forward. We've gotten to where we are today because, we just take the next step. What's next? And right now, what's next is EntreArchitect Network, which is just the little seed of what EntreArchitect will become in the future. So architects out there, if you're not a member of EntreArchitect Network, join us, because we're going places. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I believe you. I've seen it, and I just enjoy working with you guys the little bit that we have. It's all fun, and I think it's stimulating. I mean, it keeps. I think what you're doing is it keeps people learning. It keeps people growing. That's a big part of it. I got to keep doing that because I'm getting old, buddy.
Well, I'm glad that you're a part of it. I'm very happy that recently you've become more engaged with us. I love seeing your name in the community, and you're commenting. It's been great to have you there. So thank you for that.
It's great to be there. And, it's great. I think some people might say, well, gee, do those guys compete with Zweig Group? I don't think you do. I think we have completely different and unique places in the marketplace that we serve. I mean, we're not restricted to architects. Obviously, we work for a much broader range of design and related firms. And I think, truthfully, we focus on larger companies, not the megacorps, but, let's just say larger firms than what you're focusing on. And they have different needs. And I think there's room for everybody out there.
I agree. When asked about competitors, right from the beginning, this is a mission for me, right? And so I look at competitors as allies, right? If you are out there working to make the profession better, which Zweig Group is, then you're my ally, right? And I will do everything I can to help you succeed. And I hope that you will do everything that you can to help me succeed, because ultimately, at the end of the day, if the profession thrives, we both thrive.
Yes.
Right. It's a very big world and a very big market. When we picked 100,000 architects, we did that very intentionally, right? It's a very big world, and 100,000 architects is just the percentage of the architects in the world. And so it's a huge market. It's a huge community, and there's plenty of room for us to all grow. And there's lots of improvement to be made, right? And so,
amen.
If Zweig Group thrives, and EntreArchitect thrives, and AIA thrives, and all the other people out there that are working hard to help architects be more successful, then the whole world is going to shift, because architects are the ones that create our built environment and beyond that. And so if we can make the profession more successful, then the world benefits from the work that we do.
I totally agree. And I think there is so much ignorance. I mean, that is part of the problem. The general public just doesn't really know what architects do. And
that's a big piece of what we have planned.
That is super, super critical. And the AIA has made efforts in the past to deal with that. And they had their advertising campaign and all. And I just don't think it was very effective. I mean,
I think advertising is a big piece of it. I think advertising is important. I think it's much bigger than a couple of ads on Sunday morning television. I think it's about architects telling their own story, teaching architects how to tell their own story, right? Building brands, which architects traditionally haven't done. If all individual architects build really strong brands and get really good at telling their story in whichever medium they are most accustomed to, whether it's writing or video or podcasting or whatever, however it is, right? Speaking. If we're out there telling our own story, then others can't tell that story for us, right? HGTV is another big problem in our industry, that they share misinformation. They're not sharing the entire story. They misidentify who we are and what we do. And that's fine, right? They're out there making money doing their thing. They should keep doing that. But architects, there should be a counter to that, which is why Gable Media exists. Gable Media is the company that provides a way for us at first through podcasts, but eventually through video and through digital print, to allow architects to tell their stories, to share their knowledge, the things that they're good at, the things that they thrive at, to share that information with each other and the world. And so we can start, having the general public understand what we do and begin to value what we do.
Well, I think you've obviously got your course charted and you're well on your way, and it's great seeing the success that you're having. And I truly hope that you can achieve your vision in your lifetime and really improve the lot of architects the world over.
Thank you, Mark.
And it's a noble endeavor.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate your support as well. Through the last few years, you and I have become friends. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your guidance and advice when I need it. And thanks for doing this. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, it's been great. Hopefully everybody's gotten to know you a little bit better and know a little bit more about where you're going with your thing, for lack of a better term, because it is multifaceted.
I hope every architect who's listening becomes part of it, right? This isn't about Mark LePage. This is about the profession and the individual architects that are part of the EntreArchitect network. And so I'm hoping that every architect joins what we're doing. And thanks for helping us spread the word.
My pleasure. Thank you.
If you liked this episode of EntreArchitect Podcast, please share a rating, write a review, share a link with a friend. That's how EntreArchitect has grown to serve thousands of architects just like you. Please share a rating, write a review, share a link to this episode with a friend. I'd appreciate it. Links to all our sponsors and all the resources we discussed today are available at the show notes for this episode, found at entrearchitect.com/podcast. EntreArchitect is a member of the Gable Media Podcast Network. It's the network dedicated to architects, engineers, and construction pros. Listen and subscribe to all the shows at Gable Media at gablemedia.com. That's GABL media.com. Go check it out. We have, I think, 13 podcasts over there now. gablemedia.com. And before we wrap up, a special thank you to our partners at Graphisoft for helping our community of architects make the transition to BIM with ArchiCAD software. Go now to graphisoft.com/US/EntreArchitect and see how Graphisoft is positioning to help make your architecture firm a success. Visit graphisoft.com/US/EntreArchitect to learn more. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of EntreArchitect Podcast. My name is Mark R. LePage. Love, learn, and go share what you know.
Imagine earning continuing education credits while doing exactly what you're doing right now. Well, you can. Gable Media has revolutionized the way you earn your continuing education credits with a groundbreaking approach. Forget running around town and scouring the internet for credit-worthy courses. Fulfill your CE requirements effortlessly by listening to engaging podcasts just like the one you're listening to now. Our podcasts are designed to educate, entertain, and inspire, all in a user-friendly environment. But wait, there's more. Architects, Gable Media is also approved as an AIA continuing education services provider. Upon completion, we handle everything, from reporting your hours directly to the AIA to storing your certificates in your personal Gable Media profile for your self-reporting needs. So follow the link in the show notes and start earning your credits in the most innovative and entertaining way possible with Gable Media.
Attention architects and creative minds, get ready to supercharge your brand with Build Your Brand, the podcast that's unlocking the secrets of branding success for creatives. Hey there, it's Mark R. LePage, founder of EntreArchitect, and I'm inviting you to join my friend, architect marketing expert Jeff Eccles at Build Your Brand podcast, where he explores the captivating stories of the world's top brands and transforms their lessons into powerful moves for small firm architects and creatives like you. In Season 1, Jeff shares the thrilling tale of Southwest Airlines, where he dissects their journey to the summit and distills it into strategies tailor-made for you.
It's important to keep in mind that companies like Southwest compete in the real world, just like you, and face real-world challenges, just like you. You might be surprised at how similar those challenges are to the struggles that you grapple with on a day-to-day basis.
Don't miss out on your blueprint for success. Subscribe, tune in, and let's build your brand together.
You may have noticed that the very best brands in the world are also known for having somewhat unique corporate cultures. That's often the glue that holds everything together when they encounter those rough spots.
We don't do it because it inconveniences the passengers to whom we are primarily dedicated, the short haul, frequent flyer.
Follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Your Brand today. Remember, no matter the size, the journey's the same. Your brand's journey to the top starts here.